All right, I'm here.
Hey, hey!
Hi. You know what it
How
was?
are
I was
you?
I was trying to log in from my computer. I can see it, but
Okay.
I can't join from there, so I had to get on my phone.
Okay, so here we are.
I'm here.
Thank you for joining. We have a few people on here, but this can be shared once we're done,
Okay.
and I'll share it with you, and I'll share it on my page. But
Okay.
first of all, thank you for joining me, Miss
Thank you for
Nadia.
having me.
I just want to give a little bit of background about who you are.
Mhm.
I just went on Zillow. Hope that's okay.
That's fine.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, Miss Nadia, she's an experienced real estate investor. She's a real estate agent and a short-term rental owner. She's
Mhm.
also NACA, an accredited buyer's representative, and she's certified. She focuses on assessing off-market residential, multifamily, and commercial properties, as well as partnership opportunities. Each deal with Miss Nadia is approached with a customized strategy and timeline, which helps her clients have the smoothest possible transaction. Whether working with buyers, sellers, renters, landlords, or investors, her clients really rely on her area of expertise and guidance. Even buyers of the listings who she didn't represent have told her how invaluable her efforts have been in bringing the transaction to a close, because ultimately that's what we want,
Yeah.
right? Yes. So before we get started, do you have anything to share now
Um,
that we passed the NAR settlement, and
so I
how you make it out?
yeah, well, if you know me, you know I'm busy. I'm booked and busy. What I can say is the settlement has not affected my business
Mhm.
personally. I do see. I'm very much ears to the ground, so I'm on all of the Facebook groups, YouTube. Just agents that are in the field, and I do realize that there are many agents that are very confused. They're in a frenzy. They don't know what to do. I'm thinking many of them did not attend training with their brokerages. They are not touching base with their mentors. So the industry itself is crazy. But for me personally, I've been working on this months before it even went into effect. So we're ready to go. My buyers are ready and
Awesome.
sellers. They're ready.
Awesome, awesome. So we prepared a couple questions in advance. First question, what are the key changes introduced by the NAR ruling, and how will they impact the real estate industry going forward?
Well, some of the key changes are, and this is, I guess, this explanation is for those of you that are not agents. So, one of the very big changes for agents is that when we would go on the MLS, we knew what we were being compensated when we brought a buyer to purchase a home. So, that information was on the MLS. The agent can decide if it was, acceptable to them or not, if they wanted to move on or not. Now that has been removed. So us as agents, we don't know what the seller is compensating, and we don't know if they're even compensating. That is a very big change. Number two is buyers now have to sign an agreement with us before we even open a door, take you to a showing. We need an agreement. Now, I do understand that buyer agreements have been in place in other states forever. So this is nothing new for them. However, for us in New Jersey, including myself, in the years that I've been in business, I've never had a buyer's agreement, which is probably crazy, but I feel like I get clients that want to actually work with me. It's not me wanting to, tracking them down, wanting to work with them. So I think it changes the dynamic when you have people that actually seek you out and want to work with you.
Mhm.
However, we do need that agreement in place before we can even work with you.
Mhm.
Um, and also with that agreement, I'll elaborate. The agreement is just not for us to show homes. The agreement is also for your agent to be transparent with you. You need to know what the process is, how this home buying process is going to go. Ultimately, if the responsibility of the payment falls on the buyer, you need to understand how I, being your agent, how am I going to advocate for you? And then I'll dig into that a little bit later.
Mhm.
And then the last change is the seller being able to opt out of paying us, the buyer agent.
Yeah.
Whereas before the compensation was built into the buyer's overall offer, and then it came from the seller's agent, not actually the seller. So ultimately, I think that the agents in our industry have to be very well versed. You have to educate your buyers, educate your sellers, and then the sellers have to understand ultimately it was coming from your agent. It really was not coming from you. However, that's up to us to educate them. So I think those are major changes.
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
Next question. What challenges do you anticipate agents will face in transitioning to the new commission structures?
So the challenges are already happening. It's just uneducated agents. They are very nervous on how to navigate this new landscape. I think that not only are we in sales, because that's what we do, we're in sales, we're also in customer service, and you also need to be a master negotiator. If you were not a good negotiator before, you're going to have a very rough time now. And then, as for myself personally, I'm already ahead of the game. I've already, Gina, I reached out to you weeks ago. I reached out to my lending partners weeks ago to say, what do you
What are
have
you
in
doing?
place? Yeah, what do you have in place just in case my buyer doesn't have the funds? How can we get this in place? And Gina, I'll let you get into that on how Movement is going to build that in for
Sure.
buyers. But also for me, I have conversations with my buyers up front. I want to know if there is a home that is not going to compensate me, do you want me to skip? Or if you really love this home, then this is how we're going to structure your offer. We are going to maybe have your lender build it in, or maybe we will increase the offer and let the seller give it back to us as a concession. But ultimately, me as the agent, I'm really advocating for my buyer not having to pay. That's the last resort for me.
Right.
But up front, we do have the discussion just to find out what they want to do, just in case they fall in love with a
Yeah,
house.
you definitely have to set the expectations
Hmm.
before you even open the door,
Hmm. And
right?
that I'm doing. Initial conversation, we're going to talk about that.
Yes, yes. Okay, so how can agents effectively communicate these changes to their clients? Like, what are
So,
some of the things that you've been
mhm.
sharing with your clients, whether
So
that be
again, I
listing
started
or
weeks
buyer?
ago. Again, I started weeks ago. So even before this came down the pike, I was having conversations with my current clients and potential clients. I was sending email communications as these changes were coming from NAR and AR. I was communicating that to my clients. I even did a live one time as I was walking, taking my walk around the neighborhood, just giving clients and potential clients updates, because whether you are a current client or you are potential, you do want to know that your agent is ahead of the game. You do want to know that they understand what's happening, and you do want to know that we are going to adequately advocate on your behalf.
Yeah,
So I think it's just
yeah,
speaking up, staying on
yeah,
top
and
of it,
yeah,
communicate, email.
yeah, and being very transparent on what it is
Hmm.
and how they need to,
Yep.
follow the guidelines to
Hmm.
just get across the
Yeah.
threshold. All right. So one other thing, well, a couple other things. You had a lot of questions, so that's good. What advice would you give to the first time home buyer navigating these changes?
Well, for first time home buyers, I do understand it's very scary. A few of my newer clients are first time home buyers, which is a different mix for me because many of my clients are investors. So investors are very much risk savvy. They don't care. They're just like,
Right.
give me the bottom line. I don't care how much it costs for you to work for us. When it comes to the first time home buyer, they are very safe. They want to ensure that their money is being used appropriately. And it's a scary process. So my advice for first time home buyers would be, when you are searching for an agent, you really need to do your own research. You need to ask your agent, how will you advocate for me? You may find agents that are advocating for themselves. They just want the best commission. So you want to find one that is advocating for you. How will they do so? You also, the first time home buyer wants to ask, how do you communicate? Is it by phone? Is it by email? Is it by text? How often will you communicate? Can I reach out to you with any questions? Do you have a support team? That is important. There are solo agents that just work for themselves and they are burned out. So, you know, for me personally, I have myself, but I have an entire team that supports me, the person. So if my buyers cannot get into a home, I have showing agents to help you with that. I have lenders, I have attorneys, I have inspectors, I have contractors, I have anything you need. So we am a full package. So I think first time home buyers need to find out what kind of support they're going to get from their agent.
Mm-hmm. Are you getting any, well, you probably are not, but are you hearing there's pushback from first-time home buyers of not even wanting to sign the agreement, or just any buyer? You know, so I know a lot of times these properties pop up on Zillow and they just call you and say, can you just open the door for this 123 Main Street? I just want to look at it.
So
I don't
I've
want
been
to sign
hearing that.
nothing.
I've been hearing that, but it has not personally happened to me. I am currently not a Zillow agent, so I don't take basically cold leads
Mm-hmm.
from Zillow clientele that just want to find any agent that they can find. I
Yeah,
personally don't get that type of referral base, but I have heard from other agents that the buyers are pushing back. My advice to the agents are of course, we all have lead sources, but you want to create a pipeline where people actually want to work with you. They're going to seek you out. They see you on social media, they get a referral from a friend or family, and they say, I want to work with her. When you get that type of client base, you really don't get the pushback because they have to trust you.
true, true. It's a warm, warm
Hmm.
introduction,
Yes.
right? All right. So how might the ruling impact affordability of homes, particularly for the lower income buyers?
For me, if I am the agent, we're going to get the best price possible. So for me and my clients, I don't see that being an issue.
Mm-hmm.
However, for the sellers that may not want to offer compensation, the sellers may find that their home is probably going to sit a little longer. You are going to have agents that are going to skip over your home. You know, if number one, if they feel like they're not going to get paid, or two, if the client may not have the funds to pay for it. So you know, it may sit, but I don't think that it would affect the market at all because we're still in a climate where it's limited inventory.
Mm-hmm.
It's just individual sellers and their agent also, because I've worked with agents that will not move your house and the seller has no idea that their agent doesn't answer the phone. So it depends. It depends who's representing you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, what ethical considerations should real estate professionals keep in mind under the new regulations?
So us as agents, and I tell because I do mentor agents, and I like to let everyone know we really work for the buyer and the seller. Although we are our own entity, we work for them. So when you're being ethical, you have to remember that we are operating in the best interest of the client. So when we are operating in their interest, there are times where you have to give up part of your commission to even make a deal work. So if it's going to work for the client and we're going to close it, we have to give up something sometimes. Or we don't want to be in a situation where we never had a conversation with our client about a particular home not compensating and we choose to skip over it. We never had the conversation with the client. So I think that when you are working with an agent, you have to be a partner with your agent. Your agent should not be running your entire transaction. You should be a part of it, very much aware of what's happening, and we should be partners in what we're going to do and how we're going to handle it. So I think ethics is a big portion of what we do, and being transparent, like you said, and keeping your clients, you know, just well in the mix.
Right, right, right. So, what impact do you foresee on the overall housing market, particularly in terms of supply and demand? I mean, you mentioned it
Hmm.
a little bit that there is limited inventory,
Hmm.
but as the pushback may happen with buyers not wanting to look at properties that the sellers are not contributing some funds to their transaction, um, do you think that those listings will go stale? Do you think that buyers are going to retreat and readjust? Because sometimes when things like this happen, it stalls, I think, in some people's mind until they get a grasp
Hmm.
of the
Hmm.
concept. And then they're able to move forward. So this is one of the reasons why I'm doing these lives because people need to understand that it's not the old way of doing business anymore. It's a new game in town.
And so, yes, and yes to all everything you said. I think that in certain areas, you will get some listings that go stale. And then what happens is, even those don't deter me because I let it go stale, but then you have to revisit that particular client and bring a strong offer. At the end of the day, the offers are what gets the
Mm-hmm.
deal. So, what agents also have to understand is the deal isn't always just the number. I mean, I recently won a deal where the offer was 10,000 below, but the terms were extraordinary and they loved the terms. And
Mm-hmm.
so the agent said to me, this was lower than what we wanted, but the seller loved your terms. So at the end of the day, you have to be, again, a master negotiator.
Wait a minute. Wait. Okay. Go ahead.
Somebody was calling, that's why.
Yeah.
Um, you have to be a master negotiator and you have to know how to advocate for your client. So even if it goes stale and your buyer wants this house, your agent better know how to write the best contract.
Mm-hmm.
Also, your agent should be in touch with the seller's agent to find out what's important to them. How can we get this deal closed?
Mm-hmm.
What do we need to do to make it work? How can we structure this offer? And if the seller continuously sees offers where agents are asking for compensation, eventually they have to cave. Either you're going to pay it or your house is going to sit.
Right. Right. Can you share? Do you want to share a little bit of the secret sauce that you won that seller over with
Sure.
the terms?
Yep. So in this particular case, the home is an estate sale. And if anybody knows anything about estate sales, most of the time someone may have no longer been with us. They may be an older family member. The family normally takes over and they just want to sell it. They don't want to really do any repairs. They don't want to spend lots of money on requests. So I do what I always do, touch base with the seller agent to find out what's their timeline, what's important to them, how can we make this work, are you compensating? That's my first question now. Before my buyers go out to see anything, I always tell them, give me a few. I need to reach out. Let me find out about compensation. Then we can decide how you want to move forward. So I did all of that. Um, Found out it had been sitting for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And the home, it does need some upgrades. So I think that many of the previous buyers may have been turned off by that, but I had, how it goes in real estate, you just find the perfect buyer. So this was perfect for her because she's willing to put in a little bit of the work. So some of the terms we put in there is, we are offering money towards your closing costs, money towards your transfer tax, money, X amount of dollars up to repair costs for your certificate of occupancy. We will cover your certificate of occupancy. We'll do the application. We will be on site for your appraisal. We'll be on site for inspection. We're basically taking everything away from the seller and the agent. I'll do it for you. That's me. I'll be there. I'll do it. I will order appraisal within 48 hours of attorney review being over. We'll get an inspector in there in 3 days. We'll get you an answer back within 48 hours. We will close in 25 days. These are all the terms we put in the agreement. So he said we couldn't turn that one away.
Wow, you came out guns blazing.
I said, listen, if we're gonna, this is what you have to explain to your clients. If we're gonna go less, you better come really hard on your terms because nobody
Right.
is going for less money. So you got to make it attractive.
Exactly. Okay, okay. I see your work. All right. So, how can real estate professionals stay ahead of future regulatory developments?
You got to be a student in the game, always. It's like any profession. You could be a hairstylist, you can be a lender, you can be a car salesman, and attorney. If you are not a student of the game, what happens? We all get stale. If a hairstylist never takes another hair course, she's going to be doing hair from the 80s, but everybody wants their hair however they're wearing it in 2024. So I'm constantly a student of the game. And not just that, I have a sphere of dynamic agents around me that do very big numbers. And I am not afraid to reach out and ask questions. How did you do that? How are you structuring your deals? What can I add? Some of the things that I just gave you, I got from another agent. And I was like, oh, wow,
Right.
you putting that in your deal? And it gave me an idea. So constantly remain a student, humbling yourself to know I don't know everything.
Right.
And as we go along, just reaching out and asking questions to experts, any of the experts that I work with, including yourself. If I don't know about Linden, I'm going to ask
Right.
you, how does this work? What should I be doing? So I think it's just being constantly a student, and don't be afraid to attend YouTube University, because I do it all the time. I'm
Right.
on
Right.
YouTube. I'm seeing what's happening in the industry. So that's all. You just got to remain a
Yeah. That's interesting. I just got off a coaching call, and
student.
although I've been in the industry for 20 years, it seems like for 15 years I've been playing in puddles. You know what I'm saying? And one of the reasons why I went to Movement is because Movement has the capacity.
See?
They have the wide bandwidth to handle everything that I plan on doing.
Yep.
The coach actually is a $1 billion producer.
See?
So I need to, pick his brain and find out, like,
Don't you love it? I love
level
it when
up.
people are doing billions of dollars, because I'm like, okay, I have a lot of work that I need to do
Yeah, and it's
to
like,
get to this point.
wow, I've been making money, but
Listen,
girl.
when you get in a table, what they say, when you get to that table and those around you are talking numbers, and you have another agent saying, I produced 50 million this year, you're like, wow, how can I get to
Yeah,
50? What are you doing? That's always my question. What are you doing? How could I get there? How should I be structuring my deals? I'm constantly a student. So.
absolutely. Absolutely. So I know somebody had a question on here. Let's see. For the buyer's agreement, how long is the agreement for?
So it would depend on your consultation with your buyer. So it can be a month, it can be 3 months, it can be 6 months, it can be a year. It is what's comfortable for you and your agent. So you would need to answer, that question along with your agent, but everything is negotiable. It's
Mm-hmm.
whatever is comfortable for you.
Mm-hmm.
They even have something called a single property agreement, where
I
you don't
saw
sign
that.
a long-term agreement. You sign this agreement for one property that I'm going to show you, and that could be it. And then that single agreement is actually attractive to investors,
Uh,
because we know investors they're not loyal. They work with any one of us that's going to bring them the best
right,
deal.
right, right.
So for my investors, that's what I tell them. I'm like, listen, I know you're working with other agents. Let me just do the single for this one property. And if it doesn't work, we move on and I'll do it again for the next one. So you kind of have to know how to pivot your client and the business.
Right,
But it's negotiable.
right. Is there compensation attached to the single agreements,
Hmm.
or oh
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. It's the buyer agreement. It's
once
just
you
for one
close,
property.
if in the event they like that, but what if you don't close? You're just taking the
Well,
night.
if you don't close, then it's like any
And
other transaction. None of us get paid. Yeah.
okay, okay. Does anybody have any questions for Miss Nadia? Now's your time. No
If they know, I don't have
questions?
to get on here.
Yeah. Any final words, Miss Nadia?
I would just say that in this new climate for agents, if you do not have a mentor or coach, please get one, because when I'm on these Facebook groups and these different groups with agents, they are very much being discouraged. They're just like, I don't know what to do, where to turn. I haven't had a deal in 3 months. I think that you need to find a brokerage that is most comfortable for you. You need to
Mhm.
find a coach or a mentor that is also comfortable, so that you can get ahead in this industry. Because I think that now with NAR, if you don't understand it, it's going to be very difficult to win offers.
Mhm.
And the other is for buyers and sellers. So for sellers, my seller clients, I really educate them and let them know, listen, you don't have to pay a buyer's agent. However, it is in your best interest to offer compensation so that we can move this house. Because at the end of the day, you're going to be mad at me if it sits for 60 days.
True. True,
So
true.
I haven't had an issue yet. They still offer compensation.
Okay, well, that's wonderful news.
Mhm.
Um, so I want to thank you for taking
Thank
the
you for
time.
having me. Oh,
Yeah,
somebody else had
and
a question, Gina. Somebody
somebody
said,
else had a question.
it
What's
said,
that?
what can I afford with 117,000 salary, no debt, except loans? Gina, you probably can answer that because it depends.
Uh, Off the top, maybe about 700. Maybe, depending upon what the taxes are.
700,
6 to 7.
about 700 K Cole. And then there's Nurse Cute and Cover. If I wanted to sell my home and I have an offer and I don't have another home yet, how does that work? And if I don't find another home,
What did
so
they
you can.
say?
So she said if she wanted to sell her home and she has an offer, but she hasn't found another home yet, how does that work if she doesn't find another home?
So I guess she has to decide to purchase with a contingency or
Right.
without,
Contingency.
you
So you
know?
would purchase with the home sale contingency. When you work with your agent should, be communicating that to your buyers that you have a contingency, meaning I need to sell my home first before I can close on the other home, so that the buyer understands that you need the funds from this first sale to close
Or
on the other one.
or she may want to implement a bridge loan where she's given the resources from the equity of her house
Mhm.
to use for the down payment. She won't pay the bridge loan until the property is closed.
Yep.
So you could do that also.
And see, I
And
forgot.
then
See,
the new
I
the
forgot
new
about that.
housing debt will not count against her as a liability
Yep.
for
See, that's why I love you.
the
I
old
forgot about
housing
bridge
debt.
loan. I forgot to mention bridge loan, but
Yeah,
yes.
she could do that. I mean, some people, they don't want to. They want their money, all their money. They don't want
Listen,
it
if you need to
pieces.
float your money to get to your next house, float the money, because you have to remember the money is in your equity right now anyway. It's not in the bank. So you might as well
Correct.
take it out of the equity, float the money on the bridge loan, and take it to the next house, and there you go. You got your house.
Right. Take the money out of the bridge
That's
loan,
it.
do some repairs, get your property up sparkling,
Mm-hmm.
get top dollar,
Yep.
and then
Yep.
bounce.
So if you have equity in your home, people, and you need a bridge loan, float it on the bridge loan. It's equity in your house anyway, so it doesn't even
Yeah,
matter.
yeah, yeah. You could do that. Yeah.
But
Or
that's all I have.
there's a couple other things you could do, but we could
Yeah,
do
there's so many
all day.
ways, but those are like the big ones. But contingency is a big deal. That's what you want to make sure. The key
Yeah.
item you have in your agreement.
Yeah, yeah. I had a buyer, an elderly couple, and I was trying to get back to him, but he was like older, didn't want to answer the phone, and he is secured an agent, and the agent knew that the elderly couple didn't have anywhere to go,
Mm,
and just sold the house, and they had to be in a hotel for like 2, 3
mm,
months
mm.
before they found a house.
Ethics. There you
I
go.
was
That's
like,
ethics.
what the heck? I was so upset.
Ethics. This is why
Why
I
would
say to
you do
people,
that?
find a good agent, because I would never let my clients, unless they wanted to, go into an old, especially elderly. I would have already been on the
Right.
ground looking for anything else, even a short-term rental, but I would have never let them do that. So again, you have to find an agent that's not just selling your house. You need them to also be your project manager
Correct.
that's going to manage the other aspects of your life. So
Yeah,
agent, agent,
it's
agent.
not
You
just
have to
about the
find one.
sale.
No, absolutely not.
No, it's the overall well-being of real estate and their life and everything that goes along with that,
Mm-hmm.
you
Well,
know?
you know what, Gina, we're project managers. I mean, this, little bit of hair I have, it probably could have been out a few times with some of the things that I come across just in different deals, because you could think that you're going to close this thing tomorrow and then something happens, or there's squatters in the property, or it could be anything.
Yeah.
And you have to navigate it. You kind of got to just put out major fires all day, every day. It's just a part of who we are. So you have to find an agent that's really going to be your partner and going to jump
Yeah,
in and deploy the team that they have to assist to get this done.
exactly. Exactly. So I want to thank you so
Thank you for
much.
having me.
Yeah, and call me if you need me.
I will. Everyone, please go to Gina if you're looking for any lending. She'll take
Yeah.
care of you.
Thank you,
All
Josie
right, bye
King on
bye.
the move. And also,
Mm-hmm.
got this cup while we're going through these challenges. God grant me the
Oh,
serenity.
yes, we need it.
Yes.
We need it. All right,
All
bye.
right. Thanks,
You're
Nadia.
welcome.
Okay. Ciao, ciao.